The text came through at 2:47 a.m. I was awake anyway, reviewing quarterly reports from my investment portfolio, so I saw it immediately. Used your credit card for emergencies. Needed to book last-minute flights and hotel for LA buyer meeting. Family supports family, right? We'll pay you back eventually. Mara. I stared at the message for a long moment, then checked my credit card app. $4,200 in charges. First-class flights. Four Seasons hotel. Several expensive dinners. I typed back, no problem. Then I opened my secure email and drafted a message to my attorney, Patricia Morrison at Chin & Associates. Patricia, please prepare dissolution documents for the Luminous Boutique Partnership. I want out completely. Effective immediately. PR. Her reply came within an hour. Patricia never slept much either. Understood. This will trigger the partnership agreement's exit clauses. Are you certain? This is your sister's company. I'm certain. Proceed with full legal dissolution. I want my capital returned according to the original terms. Confirmed. I'll have documents ready by Tuesday morning. I set down my phone and went back to my reports. The Luminous Boutique investment had been profitable, but Mara's behavior had been escalating for months. This wasn't about $4,200. This was about a pattern. Mara started Luminous Boutique 3 years ago with big dreams and zero capital. She'd been working retail management, saving obsessively, planning her own upscale women's clothing store. The concept was solid: curated designer pieces, personalized styling, exclusive local designers. The execution was ambitious. The problem was money. Mara had $30,000 saved. She needed $200,000 minimum to launch properly: lease, inventory, renovations, marketing, operating capital for the first year. She'd pitched to banks and gotten rejected. Too risky, they said. Retail was dying. She had no collateral. Her credit score was mediocre from old student loans. That's when I'd approached her through my attorney. Not as her sister Amber, who worked from home doing freelance graphic design. As AR Capital, an anonymous investment firm interested in supporting women-owned small businesses. The offer was straightforward. $170,000 in exchange for 51% equity and a seat on the advisory board, which I never exercised. Mara could maintain operational control, but major financial decisions required partner approval. Standard terms for this type of investment. Mara had been thrilled. She'd signed everything without much scrutiny, probably a mistake on her part, but she was desperate and excited. Within 6 months, Luminous Boutique opened in a prime location downtown. The business did well. Mara had good instincts for fashion and customer service. By year 2 we were profitable. By year 3 she'd opened a second location. The company was now valued at approximately $1.4 million. My 51% stake was worth around $890,000 on paper. But Mara's spending had become reckless. She'd started treating the business account like a personal piggy bank. Expensive research trips to fashion weeks in New York and Paris. A company car that was really just her personal luxury vehicle. Designer clothes for networking that she wore to family dinners. I'd flagged these issues through Patricia, citing the partnership agreement's restrictions on excessive personal expenses. Mara would apologize, promise to be more careful, then do it again 3 months later. The credit card incident was the final straw. She didn't just use my personal card without asking. She texted about it like it was a casual favor between sisters. Like I should be grateful to support her emergencies. She had no idea I was the same person who'd been funding her business for 3 years. Tuesday morning, Patricia's call came at 9:15 a.m. I was at my desk, genuinely working on a graphic design project for a small nonprofit client. The freelance work was real. I enjoyed it, it kept my skills sharp, and it maintained my cover as someone with a modest income. Amber, the dissolution documents are ready, Patricia said. I've scheduled a call with Ms. Mara Reeves and her business attorney for 10 a.m. Are you prepared for the fallout? Yes. She's going to be devastated. The partnership agreement requires her to buy you out at current valuation within 90 days or sell the business. She doesn't have $890,000. I know. May I ask what prompted this? The business is profitable. Check the expense reports from the last quarter. Then look at last night's charges on my personal credit card. Patricia was quiet for a moment. I see. Mixing personal and business boundaries. Repeatedly despite warnings. Understood. I'll proceed with the call. I hung up and waited. Mara called me at 10:47 a.m. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Amber. Her voice was shaking. Amber, something terrible happened. My business lawyer just called. My silent partner, the investor who funded Luminous, they're pulling out. Completely. I have to buy them out or sell the company. That's awful, I said, keeping my voice neutral. How much do you owe them? $890,000. Amber, I don't have that. The business is doing well, but all our capital is tied up in inventory in the new location. I'd have to take out massive loans or sell everything I've built. Can you negotiate with them? My lawyer tried. They're exercising their rights under the partnership agreement. It's all legal. They can just walk away and I have to figure it out or lose everything. I heard her crying on the other end. Part of me felt guilty. The larger part remembered the text from last night. Why would they pull out if the business is doing well? I asked. I don't know. My lawyer said something about concerns regarding financial management and expense compliance. But that's insane. I run a tight ship. Sure, I take some business trips, but that's normal for this industry. How many business trips? I don't know, a few. That's not the point. The point is I'm about to lose my company because some anonymous investor decided to screw me over. Did you violate the partnership agreement? What? No. I mean, there were some flags about personal expenses, but those were misunderstandings. I was always going to reimburse those. Were you? Amber, whose side are you on? I'm having a crisis here. I'm just trying to understand the situation, I said calmly. The situation is I'm going to lose everything unless I can find $890,000 in 90 days. Can you help me? There was the inevitable ask. Mara, I'm a freelance graphic designer. Where would I get that kind of money? I don't know. Alone? Ask your friends. You know people, right? Not people with $890,000. She made a frustrated sound. Then what am I supposed to do? Talk to your bank. Look for investors. Maybe sell one location to raise capital. That would kill the business model. The whole point is having multiple locations for brand presence. Then I don't know what to tell you. Silence on the other end. Then, you're being really cold about this. I'm being realistic. I'm your sister. My life is falling apart. And you're just, whatever. I have to go. I need to call people who actually care. She hung up. I sat at my desk for a long moment, then returned to my design work. My phone buzzed every 15 minutes for the next 2 hours. Mom, Dad, Mara again, my older brother Chase. I ignored all of them. The family emergency meeting happened that evening at Mom's house. I arrived 20 minutes late with Thai takeout, which seemed to annoy everyone. Finally, Mara said when I walked in. We've been waiting. Sorry, traffic. I set down the food. What's going on? What's going on? Mara's voice rose. What's going on is my business is being destroyed and apparently nobody cares. Mom put a hand on Mara's arm. Sweetie, we care. We're all here to help figure this out. Dad nodded from his chair. Mara's been explaining the situation. This investor pulling out, it's brutal. Completely unfair. Chase, my older brother, leaned forward. The real question is why. Businesses don't just abandon profitable investments. Something else is going on. Thank you. Mara gestured at him. That's what I've been saying. This is personal somehow. They're targeting me. Or, I said quietly, they reviewed your expense reports and decided you were a liability. The room went silent. Mara turned to me slowly. Excuse me. Your lawyer said they cited financial management concerns. That means they think you're misusing company funds. I'm not misusing anything. Really? I pulled out my phone. Because last night you charged $4,200 to my personal credit card for emergency business travel. First-class flights. 4 seasons. Multiple expensive dinners. That was an emergency. A major buyer wanted to meet. So you used your sister's credit card without asking? Instead of the business account. Mara's face flushed. The business account was low. I was going to pay you back. When? I asked. You still owe me $800 from 6 months ago when you borrowed money for that New York trip. I said I'd pay you back. You always say that. You never do. Mom intervened. Girls, this isn't helping. We need to focus on solutions. The solution is simple, I said. Mara needs to find $890,000 to buy out her investor, or she needs to sell the business. Those are her options. Can't you help her? Mom asked, looking at me. Maybe co-sign a loan? On my income? No bank would accept that. What about your savings? Dad suggested. You've been working for years. You must have something saved. I have about $12,000 in accessible savings. That won't help. Mara laughed bitterly. Of course. Amber, the struggling artist, can't help. As usual. What does that mean? I asked. It means you've never contributed anything to this family. You work from home doing whatever, making barely any money, living in your tiny apartment with your sad little life. And now when I actually need something, you're useless. Chase frowned. Mara, that's harsh. Is it? Look at her. She's 34 years old, and what has she accomplished? I built a business from nothing. I created jobs. I made something of myself. And she just exists. I felt the familiar sting of Mara's words. She'd always been this way, successful, driven, judgmental. The golden child who did everything right while I was the family afterthought. You're right, I said quietly. I haven't accomplished much. Definitely nothing as impressive as a boutique empire built on other people's money. What's that supposed to mean? It means your investor gave you $170,000 to start. You didn't build this from nothing. You built it from someone else's capital, and now you're shocked they want it back when you've been violating the partnership terms. I haven't violated anything. The expense reports say otherwise. And using my credit card for your emergency trip? That shows a pattern. You treat other people's money like it's yours to take. Mara stood up. I don't have to listen to this. I came here for support, not judgment from my loser sister. Mara, Mom started. No. I'm done. Amber's always been jealous of my success. Now she's using my crisis to make herself feel better about her pathetic life. She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door. Then she stopped and turned back. You know what? Fine. I'll sell the business. I'll lose everything I worked for. And when I'm broke and desperate, don't come crying to me for help. Because unlike you, I actually had something worth losing. She left, slamming the door. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Finally, Chase spoke. That was intense. She's under a lot of stress, Mom said, but she sounded uncertain. Dad looked at me. Amber, maybe you were a little hard on her. Was I? I asked. She just called me a jealous loser with a pathetic life. But I was too hard on her. She didn't mean it, Mom said. She's scared. She meant it, I said. Mara's always meant it. She's been looking down on me since we were teenagers. I'm used to it. That's not true, Mom protested weakly. Mom, she just told me I've never contributed anything to this family. That I'm useless. That my life is sad and little. How is that not true? No one had an answer. I picked up my Thai food. I'm going home. Good luck solving Mara's crisis. I didn't hear from Mara for 3 days. Then she texted, need to talk. Coffee tomorrow. We met at a Starbucks near her boutique. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair in a messy ponytail, none of her usual careful styling. Thanks for coming, she said when I sat down. Sure. I wanted to apologize. For what I said at Mom's. That was cruel. It was honest, I said. You've always thought I was a loser. At least now you've said it out loud. I don't think that. Mara, you literally called my life pathetic 3 days ago. She winced. I was upset. I lashed out. You were upset, so you said what you actually think. That's how it works. She stared at her coffee. I've been looking at my options. My accountant says I can probably get a loan for $400,000, maybe $500,000 if I leverage both locations. But that leaves me $400,000 short. So you'll have to sell. Probably. Unless. She looked at me hopefully. Unless my investor would accept a partial buyout. Take $500,000 now and convert the rest to a smaller equity stake. Have you asked them? My lawyer's drafting a proposal. But Amber, I need to know something. The way you talked about the expense reports, the partnership terms, you sounded like you knew details. Specific details. My heart rate picked up slightly, but I kept my expression neutral. You told me about the financial management concerns. I made educated guesses. Did you? She leaned forward. Or do you know something I don't? Like what? Like who my investor is. I took a sip of my latte. Why would I know that? Because you're acting weird. You've been calm about this whole thing. Not surprised, not concerned. Like you expected it. I'm calm because I'm not the one losing a business. Or because you already knew it was happening. We stared at each other. Mara, what are you asking me? I'm asking if you know who AR Capital is. I set down my cup carefully. Why would you think that? Because my lawyer found something. AR Capital is registered to a Patricia Morrison at Chin and Associates. I googled her. She specializes in private wealth management and anonymous investment structures. And 3 years ago you asked me for her contact information. You said you had a friend who needed estate planning help. I'd forgotten about that. Careless. Lots of people use estate planners, I said. Amber. Mara's voice was shaking now. AR Capital. Your initials are AR Amber Reeves. Those are common initials. Are you my investor? The coffee shop suddenly felt very quiet even though it was full of people. Mara. Just tell me. Yes or no? Are you AR Capital? I could have lied. I could have maintained the fiction. But 3 years of watching Mara build her business on my money while treating me like a family embarrassment had worn me down. Yes. She sat back like I'd slapped her. Oh my God. I invested $170,000 3 years ago through an LLC. You needed capital. I had it. The terms were fair. You've been my silent partner this whole time? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have taken investment money from your loser sister? The one with the sad, pathetic life. She closed her eyes. That's what this is about. Revenge for what I said. No. I filed the dissolution paperwork before that conversation. This is about you using my personal credit card without permission, after years of flagging your excessive personal expenses through official channels. Those expenses were for the business. $4,200 for a buyer meeting that I can't find any record of in your calendar or email. 3 research trips to Paris in 1 year? A company car that's actually a Range Rover you drive to family dinners. You've been spying on me? I've been reviewing financial reports from a company I own 51% of. That's not spying. That's fiduciary responsibility. Mara's hands were shaking. You own 51%? You own most of my company. I own most of the company I funded, yes. You own 49% of a business that wouldn't exist without my capital. But you let me think. Everyone thinks. You're barely getting by. You live in that tiny apartment. You drive a 10-year-old car. 15-year-old car, actually. And yes, I live modestly. That's how I saved enough money to invest in the first place. How much money do you have? Enough to invest $170,000 in your boutique. Plus several other investments. Plus real estate. Plus a diversified portfolio. You're rich. I'm comfortable. How comfortable? That's not relevant. Amber, you're my sister. How did you get this much money? I sighed. I inherited $80,000 from Grandma Reeves when I was 22. Everyone knew about that. What they didn't know was that I also received a $150,000 life insurance payout from Aunt Carol 2 years later. She'd named me as a beneficiary for helping take care of her during her cancer treatment. I invested conservatively, lived on almost nothing, worked multiple freelance jobs and built it up over 12 years. You have a life insurance payout you never told anyone about? Because I didn't want this. This conversation. This judgment. This expectation that I should fund everyone else's dreams. Is that what you think I did? Used you? Mara, you texted me at 2 a.m. to tell me you'd charged $4,200 to my credit card without asking. How is that not using me? He was crying now. I was desperate. The buyer meeting was real. I just didn't have immediate access to funds. You have a business account with $40,000 in it. I've seen the statements. That's operating capital. I can't just drain it for personal travel. Exactly. It was personal travel. Not a business expense. And you charged it to me instead of paying for it yourself. I was going to pay you back. When? You've been going to pay me back for 3 years. Every personal expense you've charged to the business account, every loan you've taken from family, every financial boundary you've crossed. You always say you'll make it right. You never do. Mara put her head in her hands. So that's it? You're destroying my business because I borrowed $4,200. I'm exiting an investment because my business partner has consistently violated our agreement and shown no ability to maintain appropriate financial boundaries. The credit card was the final incident in a pattern. What about the partial buyout proposal? Would you consider that? No. Why not? Because I don't want to be in business with you anymore. Not as your sister, not as your investor. You've spent 3 years treating me like I'm worthless while building your success on my money. I'm done. That's not fair. Mara, you called my life pathetic. You told our entire family I've never contributed anything. You've mocked my apartment, my car, my career. And all along I was the person who made your dream possible. If that's not fair, I don't know what is. She was sobbing now, drawing looks from other customers. What am I supposed to do? Find another investor. Sell one location. Restructure. The business fundamentals are sound. You're good at what you do. You can rebuild, you just can't rebuild on my capital while treating me like garbage. I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did. Not consciously, maybe. But you've spent years feeling superior to me, judging my choices, making me feel small. That was intentional. I'm sorry. I know. But sorry doesn't change the partnership agreement. You have 90 days. I stood up to leave. Amber, wait. Please. Can we figure this out? Sister to sister. We haven't been sister to sister in a long time, Mara. We've been investor and entrepreneur. And that relationship is over. I walked out of the Starbucks and drove home in my 15-year-old car to my tiny apartment, where I had enough money in various accounts to retire tomorrow if I wanted to. But I wouldn't tell my family that. I'd keep working my freelance jobs, living modestly, investing quietly. Because the moment they knew about the money, I'd stop being Amber and become an ATM. Mara sold one location and took out a $450,000 loan to buy out my stake at a negotiated rate of $750,000. Patricia had agreed to a slight discount to expedite the exit. The deal closed in 73 days. The family found out the truth in pieces. First, that I'd been Mara's investor. Then that I'd had the money all along. Then that I'd been quietly building wealth for over a decade while they all assumed I was struggling. The reactions were predictable. Mom cried and said she wished I'd trusted them with the truth. Dad was angry I'd deceived everyone. Chase was impressed but hurt I hadn't asked him for investment advice. Mara stopped speaking to me entirely. 3 months later, I received a text from her. Boutique doing well. Paid off half the loan. You were right about the expense problems. Working with an accountant now. Still not ready to talk but wanted you to know I heard you. I replied, glad it's working out. 6 months after that, Mara called. Can we have coffee? Real conversation this time. We met at the same Starbucks. She looked better, rested, professional, focused. I've been in therapy, she said after we sat down. Working on some stuff. Competitiveness, judgment, superiority complex. My therapist helped me see that I treated you terribly because I needed to feel like I was better than someone. Okay. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I know I did real damage. But I want you to know I see it now. And I'm working on it. I appreciate that. Can I ask you something? Why did you invest in me? If you knew I looked down on you, why give me the money? Because your business plan was solid. Because you're talented. Because separating personal from professional is something adults should be able to do. Even when the personal relationship is damaged? Especially then. Good investments aren't about feelings. She smiled sadly. That's very logical. That's how I've survived. Logic, boundaries, and not expecting my family to see me clearly. That's depressing. That's reality. We talked for another hour. Not about the business, not about the money. About our childhood, our differences, the ways we'd hurt each other. It wasn't reconciliation exactly. But it was honest. When we left, Mara hugged me. I'm going to do better. It might take a while, but I'm going to do better. Hey, I said. And slowly over the next year she did. She stopped making comments about my lifestyle. Started asking about my work with genuine interest. Began treating me like an equal instead of a charity case. The boutique thrived. Mara opened a third location with money from new investors. Investors, she found herself with better terms and clearer boundaries. As for me, I kept my modest apartment and my old car. I kept doing freelance graphic design and making quiet investments. The family eventually stopped asking about my finances, which was exactly what I wanted. Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about maintaining your boundaries while everyone else figures out that their assumptions were wrong all along. Mara figured it out the hard way. But at least she figured it out. That's more than most people do.